Okay, hello. Welcome. We have author Michael Geczi. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Okay, so tell us a little bit about you. What sort of things do you like to do outside of writing?
Um, well, let's see. Historically, I've spent a good part of the past 20 years cycling. I kind of clear my head and come up with ideas when I'm on a bicycle. I enjoy doing that. I've always enjoyed theater and movies, sports. Um, Going out to a good dinner, drinking good wine. But books have, um, ever since I was a kid, books and words have always been like the most interesting thing to me.
Yeah, okay, I like that. Um, so tell us about your most recent book or series that you have.
The most recent book is a book called Soulless, and it's the second book in a series that is called the Revenge Unhinged series. The first book was titled Pointless. This one is Soulless. And this one, well, overall, both of them and the series sort of looks into the absurdity of revenge, and when revenge gets out of control, um, what the unintended consequences are. And in this one, to simplify it, it's a story that starts off with what appears to be a homicide and a kidnapping. But what thematically it really is that there's a when revenge hits, there's a dark side that you find in the people with the white hats, and that you find in the people with the black hats as well. And so this one, the interesting thing to me is the impact on the suspects and the perpetrators, and the impact on law enforcement of revenge and what the outcome ends up being.
Okay, that sounds interesting. I actually went ahead and read the synopsis for Soulless, so I knew what it was about.
Yeah.
Um, so you mentioned that you like bicycling and you come up with some ideas there, but where do you like to sit and write? Is it a couch? Is it your desk? Where's your favorite places to write?
Um, I sat at a desk for many decades, so I have very little interest in sitting at a desk anymore. So I actually sit on the sofa in the living room.
Mhm.
My wife is next to me, and I just I pound out words when the inspiration hits me, and when it doesn't, I pick up my laptop and put it to the side, and
Mhm.
or I do some research for some ideas. But I've written 8 books in the past 2 years, basically sitting on my sofa, and I'm probably gonna have to buy a new sofa because it's kind of worn out, and it has a slump in it. But yeah, I'm comfortable just it being on my lap. Sometimes I'll be a typical kind of like coffee shop person, and when I get out of the house, but most of the time, and because I write at weird hours, I write in the middle of the night and I write early in the morning. I do it on the couch in our living room.
That was my next question is what time of day is most productive for you? So morning and nighttime?
Well, the first several books, the first 3 or 4, I basically wrote in the middle of the night,
Oh,
um, like from 2 to 4 or from 1 to 3. I'm pretty filled with ideas and energy as I'm drinking coffee in the morning, having breakfast. In the middle of the day, I don't seem to have any ideas that I think are worthwhile. then I get a urge of energy, a surge actually, late afternoon, and then early evening. I try not to do anything because I'm convinced myself. Well, I don't think I had to convince myself, but I think I make mistakes at that hour of that night. So
in the evening, you said you make more mistakes.
yeah. So I don't think it's worth me doing anything. I think I'll write something that I won't like, or I'll forget that I went in a different direction, and it's just not a productive time for me. And I also, well, I guess I shouldn't say I don't like writing at that. I simply don't like it. I mean, the other hours of the day, I love what I'm doing, and it fills my need. If I try to write at 6 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night, I don't enjoy it. So it's just not.
It's more of a chore. Yeah, I understand that.
Chore, and it's not going to be productive.
Are you listening to anything when you're writing? You said you're sitting on the sofa with your wife, so you're probably watching TV. But
Yeah.
Background noise, are you listening or watching?
No, just it's kind of old crime shows, or Damages or Justified or things like that. We realized the things that we watched 15 years ago are still pretty interesting. And I don't know if that's conducive and a good idea for me while I'm writing.
Yeah, distraction. Yeah.
But I like it, and I'm amazed sometimes when I see a plot point in one of these shows that is something that I've included in one of my books, and I had no idea, or a character name. I'm very conscious about character names, because sometimes if I just hear the name Wallace or something on Law and Order at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the next character ends up becoming Wallace. So then at the end of the day, I change it. But I still enjoy them. I think, especially because I'm trying to mix psychological thrillers with some police procedural stuff, and the police procedural is more of a chore for me than getting into the heads of the characters. So maybe those shows are good for me, and they help me stay on track to remind myself that detectives and FBI agents don't always just have inspirations. They have to do some work and do some research and do some interviews.
Raylan Givens has to sit at the bar sometimes to get some inspirations. I used to love that show too. I feel like it's helpful watching one that I've already seen, so I just it's just noise in the background.
Yeah.
So have you, with your recent book that you released, did you experience any writer's block with that?
Yeah, actually, like I said, I've written 8 in 2 years, and the first 6 I flew through.
Mm-hmm.
And the first 2 were interesting because the first book I wrote was interesting because I actually wrote it. I won't say how long ago, but I wrote it decades ago, and an author looked at a crime author looked at it and said it was very, very good, and told me what I needed to do next. But I basically put it in the closet, and I didn't touch it for decades. And I was able a couple of years ago to pull about 60% of it off of an old zip drive and bring it back to life and resuscitate it. So those first few, I think I was carrying the plots around in my head for a long time. The last 2, I've noticed that I really love that first 25%, and I really love the last 25%, and that middle part. I don't know if it's writer's block or me being stubborn, um, but I'm those have been actually a challenge and problematic, because I find that it's really, really easy to start repeating yourself, and you realize that, wait a minute, you went down this path 2 books ago, or this person, this character existed 3 books ago, and had the same wonderful discovery online at 4 o'clock in the afternoon that helped them find the clue. And so I think it may be writer's block for the middle part, Act 2, but it might also just be searching for new ways to take characters and new ways to progress the story. So that's something I'm working on, and it's an interesting challenge, and I haven't conquered it, but the last 2 were a bit of a struggle in the middle.
Yeah, I agree. I do think the middle is the hardest part. You set up the beginning and the end in your mind. You have that all plotted out. But yeah, that middle is the hardest part. With your books, is there a particular scene that you are most proud of, or that's your favorite?
Yeah, so in this last book, Soulless, and I think when you and I exchanged information, I said it was in a different book, so I made a mistake. But there's a couple of scenes that involve children, and one's in a cemetery, and it also involves a hummingbird. And this is completely not like me at all. But I really, really loved writing it and how I felt. And then there's another scene where a brother and sister, 12 and 10, when they were younger and in the back seat of the car, they had a bodily code that they used to talk to each other, so their parents wouldn't know what they were talking about. And they end up in a threatening situation later in the book, and they're alone and they're not able to talk. They have tape over their mouths, but they find a way to communicate their fears and their hopes and their feelings for each other through this kind of signal code system that they had created years before. And I enjoyed that. Beyond those, most of the other ones, the other books, the scenes that I'm most proud of or get most emotional about are sad ones that I'm proud of them, but then like they rip your heart out as you're writing them.
Yeah, emotional reads.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that readers like. They like when you pull them in emotionally. So
yeah, and I have mostly damaged people in all my stories,
yep.
and so that happens quite a bit, and I like getting inside their heads and exploring not only what they're doing, but why they might be doing it and how they feel about it. And for me, that's just like a very, very interesting aspect of all of this for me.
Yeah. If there was a famous author, let's say, that you wanted to read your series, who would that author be that you would introduce it to?
Well, he's dead.
It's okay.
Elmore Leonard, I think. Okay. Although it's nothing. He probably wouldn't like them because they're too wordy, because he didn't believe in any of that. but I would say he was my favorite author of all time, and shaped a lot of how I think about books and what they're supposed to do.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to say about your series to Seven Story Publishing readers?
Well, I think I would just repeat some of the positive feedback I get. The readers and the reviewers that I've connected with, and thank goodness they're out there. They do like the psychological aspects. They do like the fact that right isn't always right and wrong isn't always wrong. But they want something over the top, and I try to give them something over the top, but I don't give them the violence, and they seem to enjoy the fact that the violence is implied, or the violence is that there for them to infer and in their own heads imagine what it is. I don't see the point of writing the scene that has the knife or has the gun or has the rope, and I don't know that I would be very good at it anyway, and it doesn't interest me. So with when I first started, I had to explain to some people that something the first series, which is called the Serial Killer Anthology, is 5 books that really don't have any violence in it. It's all about what the killer is thinking and what the law enforcement is thinking and what's going on in the community. So I think if the concept of a psychological thriller makes you think of somebody doing something for 3 or 4 pages that makes you uncomfortable, you're not going to find that in what I write.
Right. I read your reviews, and you had excellent reviews. A lot of people said that they compared your writing style to James Patterson. That's quite a compliment.
Yeah. It's so again over the top, but yeah, I was glad to see that, and I have I have some loyal people who then will write me and say, well, so and so, why don't you take her and extend her story, or why don't you do more with somebody else? I have very I think 7 out of the 8 books have very, very surprising twists at the end that blow some people's heads apart. But then there are some characters that they want to see continue. The Santa Monica crew, the homicide team from Santa Monica, is in 4 of the books. Although every book in both series are standalone and can be read by themselves, this team keeps coming back to me. I enjoy them. They're an interesting mix of people. The other thing I would say that just for people who are thinking about reading anything, I try to include marginalized characters. Pointless, which is the book prior to the one I just did, the FBI chief, the FBI agent in charge of the investigation, is based in Albuquerque, and she's a Navajo Indian, so that throws certain prejudices and other things into it. I have LGBTQ couples that are one. The woman is the one woman is a homicide detective, and her wife is a civil rights attorney. She's white. The other one, the civil rights attorney, is black, and they adopted a black baby in Minneapolis right when there was the disturbances in Minneapolis. So and the one I'm working on now, one of the FBI personnel is a young woman in a wheelchair with multiple sclerosis. So I find that interesting, and I find those characters are very rich, and I can do a lot with them, including falling in love with all of them.
It seems like it's appealing in modern times. I mean, that's how the world is. So including that for your readers to have likable characters is always unique, and it keeps those readers coming.
I don't know if you've done this, but I mean, I've flipped a person's gender after I wrote the book already. You know, all of a sudden I realized that this is what I just wrote here is not reality, and you know, I make a change, and I think that's part of the enjoyable. That's an enjoyable part of doing all of this, is the ability to sort of catch yourself on these things and then turn the world into what it should be.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Mike, thanks for taking the time to meet with us. We'll definitely be looking for your series of books, and hopefully our readers will check those out.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, I hope you have a good rest of your day, okay?
Oh, you too. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.